Watching Shahid Bolson is one of the best thing I've ever done to myself as a young black child. All right, I have a clip here. Watch it. I will come back with no commentary at the end of the video.
Yeah, I watched that speech. So when you watch that, you have to be able to see how the the A National OCGFC are operating and why Trump is their man. I mean, I've been telling you for 3 years, going on 3 years, that there's a destabilization campaign against Europe. That's what the Ukraine war actually is. It's a proxy war being waged by the United States, not against Russia, but against Europe. I've been telling you that they're turning on each other. The West is turning on itself. I've been telling you that America is going to become more and more interested in creating conflict in the West, not in the global South. I've been telling you that the historical roles of the global North and the global South are going to be reversed. Didn't I tell you that? Well, look at the last Trump press conference. He's talking about destroying Canada economically. He's talking about trying to force them into submission. That's what all this talk is really about. He's talking about making the whole country into an American state, and he's talking about doing the same thing with Greenland. Except with Greenland, he even said that they might use military force to do it. So that's a direct threat against the EU, and they've taken it as such. He's literally saying that America could potentially use military force against a European country in order to seize territory from them. Seize European territory. Well, that's nothing but colonization. What he's talking about with regards to Canada, that's nothing but colonization. The man is talking about occupying, colonizing, and pillaging other Western countries, the resources of other Western countries. He called the border between Canada and the U.S. an artificially drawn line. I mean, Putin didn't even say that about Ukraine. Meanwhile, the border with Mexico, well, that isn't artificial at all. It's just an artificial border between Canada and America. Greenland and Canada get to become American states. Meanwhile, Puerto Rico is called a floating island of garbage at a Trump campaign rally over the summer. So Puerto Rico is trash, and the Mexican border needs a wall, but the border with Canada is just an imaginary line. It doesn't really exist. Now, the obvious racism is just that. It's obvious. But if you think about it a little bit more deeply, there's a reason for drawing a demarcation line like this, what Trump is trying to do. The U.S. empire is looking at subjugating the northern hemisphere, and the southern hemisphere is no longer any of their business. It's out of their sphere of influence. In fact, the southern hemisphere is the ascendant hemisphere. I mean, did you notice how his press conference, how it began? What he did what the real reason for the press conference was? He was talking about the UAE pumping in $20 billion of investment into the United States. I mean, imagine. We're already at this point. We're already at the point where an American president is bragging about successfully attracting foreign direct investment from the global South into America. I mean, this is usually the kind of thing that a president in the global South would be bragging about. You know, being able to attract foreign investment. But now you have the president of the United States, or the president-elect of the United States, being proud and bragging about the UAE opening up data centers in his country. Role reversal. It's actually really interesting to me. It's interesting to watch all of this play out, alhamdulillah, in our lifetime. We're seeing a major change. Basically, the neocons, the nationalistic OCGFC, are being placated. This is what Trump is doing. They're being redirected to feed their cannibalistic appetites on other Anglo-Saxons. I mean, this was the West's primary activity for centuries. Before they ever invaded our lands, they just cannibalized each other. That was the main pastime. So we're coming full circle. I mean, of course, the neocons need to maintain a fantasy of power. And I think that that's partly what's going on with Trump's outlandish suggestion. It's giving them something to dream about while they create nightmares for everyone else. I mean, the suggestion that the United States could just take Canada, take Greenland, it may sound absurd, but it actually reveals something far deeper than just the mere posturing of a braggart. This is in the imperial DNA of the Western power structure, a system that has thrived has absolutely thrived on the subjugation of others' lands, others' resources, and other people for centuries. It isn't just about geography. This is about desperation on the part of the West, on the part of America. It's about a crumbling empire that's grasping at fantasies to try to reclaim relevance as its power slips away. To entertain the idea of annexing Canada or annexing Greenland or both in the 21st century is clinging to a mindset that belongs in the colonial past. It's obviously geopolitically absurd to try to do something like this today with all of the alliances and the sovereignties that are at play. But the point isn't whether this is feasible or not. It's that the very notion itself reflects an empire that is incapable of adapting to a world that is no longer defined by its dominance. The United States is not asserting strength here, it's telegraphing fear. This isn't a serious proposal. It's a tantrum dressed up as a strategy. It's the instinct of a predator whose fangs have fallen out, and they're lashing out in vain as his prey slips through its fingers. In my opinion, Trump is giving the neocons a fantasy of America, as a great giant imperial landmass like China or the former Soviet Union, a landmass of majority white people. That's important because as so-called minorities, or rather as members of the global majority who happen to live in America, as they are increasingly becoming the collective majority of that country, in other words, as white people are gradually becoming the largest minority in America, well, racists in America have a demographic problem, similar to the Zionists. But unlike the Zionists, if America starts annexing territory in the Northern Hemisphere, well, that's territory that has its own kind in it. They have their own kind there. Now, if the Zionists seize territory, well, it's not filled with Jews. In fact, they don't even have enough Jews in the world. There's not even enough Jews on earth to fill the territory that they want, or even the territory that they already have. But if America takes Canada, if America takes Greenland, well, then the white population of the new United States empire would be at least increased by a few percentage points, which matters to them. Maybe more if Canada adopts a mass deportation policy like America. See, it's almost like they're trying to gather all their own kind together and either expel or refuse entry to the so-called racial and so-called ethnic demographic groups of the global majority who they never liked. And that's actually something that the global majority should be happy about, to be honest. The global majority should be happy about that. You should be happy about the anti-immigration policies, frankly, because they're literally trying to keep you off of a sinking ship while they're telling everyone else who's stuck on board that ship that it was the weight that was making them sink, not the gaping hole in the side of the vessel. In other words, they're lying to their own people about what's really happening about and why their ship is going down. But they're trying to keep you from jumping from the iceberg onto the Titanic, which is exactly what it is when anyone immigrates from the global south into America or into the West. You're just jumping from the iceberg to the Titanic. And they're trying to keep you off of it with their anti-immigration policies. Of course, this new Trumpian manifest destiny is nothing but a daydream. It doesn't really mean anything in reality. Trump is selling hallucinogens to the neocons. And of course, he's also just providing a distraction to the American people. This is one of the main things that politicians do in America. He's providing them a distraction that will appeal to their nationalistic ego and their nationalistic vanity. Anytime America talks about anything outside of America, all they're trying to do is distract their citizens from what's happening in their country, from the inequalities, from the economic collapse, from the erosion of their rights. All of this is happening in their own neighborhoods. So let's look somewhere else. Let's try to make them look somewhere else. It's for the American people to try to keep them looking outwards while their own houses burn down. And I mean that literally. I mean, I don't think you could find, or I don't think you could imagine or come up with a better metaphor for America today than what's happening in California right now. You got tens of billions of dollars worth of damage from those fires in California. Meanwhile, there's no water. The fire extinguishers aren't producing any water. Their firefighting equipment is all gone to Ukraine. Whole neighborhoods in Los Angeles, subhanAllah, whole neighborhoods in Los Angeles look like Gaza today. How about that? And you have a mayor who doesn't even know that a URL or that the term URL isn't the same thing as a website. This is America. So yes, you pretend that you're going to transform into some huge, expansive geographic empire from the Arctic all the way down to the renamed Gulf of America, just to divert from the reality of your reduction as a world empire. You talk big, even though you can't even fill your own boots anymore. And that's why you talk big, because you're shrinking. Now, no, that doesn't mean that it's all empty talk. It's not completely empty. Because, as I say, the A National OCGFC have a plan. Is what I've been talking about for 3 years. Relations are going to become increasingly hostile between the U.S. and Canada, between the U.S. and Europe, between the U.S. and the rest of the Northern Hemisphere. Everyone is being misled, in my opinion, with regards to thinking that Trump wants to have problems with China, that he's trying to make problems with China, or that he's confrontation with China. I don't think that's accurate at all. They're going to be making problems for the West. America's going to be making problems for the West, which essentially just delivers the global South to China and to BRICS. MAGA isn't about helping the American people any more than a corporate restructuring is about helping the workers. That's how you can probably conceptualize what's happening in America. America is downsizing. All while, just like with a company, when they downsize, they're telling everyone that they're just consolidating and they're just streamlining, and that everything they're doing is just going to make everything better than it ever was. They're going to make the company stronger than it ever was, and so on. Meanwhile, the richest of the rich in America are perched with their golden parachutes that will float them off into the global South, while your cities crash and burn. This is the death rattle of a system in crisis. Western colonial capitalism, in its current form, is unsustainable, and that's obvious. The U.S. economy has been hollowed out by financialization, by deindustrialization, and it can no longer stand on its own. That's a fact. The system runs on blood. The system runs on turmoil. Canada and Greenland and Europe have had a good run in terms of being able to orbit the United States without ever having gotten sucked into the vortex of that vampiric system. But that good run is over, and they're going to get sucked in. The same system that they used to pillage the global South is turning its sights around. You've heard about those prisons where the inmates rebel and take over the facility. Well, it's kind of like that, I think. The world today is kind of like that. All of your former prisoners, the colonized countries, the so-called developing countries, your former prisoners have taken over the jail. And now the rifleman in the gun tower is turning his rifle around because he can see which way the wind is blowing. He can see who's actually in charge now. So now you've got prison guards who are stripping off their uniforms to try to put on the prison blues because your uniform just makes you a target. I'm talking about the West now. Oh, the tables are turning. I mean, look at this UAE investment that no one seems to want to talk about. I mean, think about that. The UAE investment was literally the only actual substantive thing, the only actual thing of substance that Donald Trump even talked about at that press conference the other day, and no one's even talking about it. No one is even mentioning that that's actually the reason for the thing. Everyone's talking about Canada, everyone's talking about Greenland, Panama Canal, and so forth. No one even noticed the fact that Mr. America First is bragging about $20 billion in foreign direct investment that's going to go to operate exactly the same way in America that Western investment always operated in our countries. That's exactly what they're doing. I mean, literally. The UAE is doing the exact same thing that the West has always done to us. But no one can see it, and no one's talking about it. You have to understand that the way foreign investment works is like a syringe. They tell you that it's injecting you with medicine, but what they actually do is stick that needle in you to suck your blood. So you think that they're injecting, but they're actually extracting. Because look, this deal that he announced, they're going to open data centers in the U.S. Okay. Well, aside from how much power and leverage that gives the UAE potentially over American data, which is massive, but let's not even talk about that. There's too many things to say really about that. That's not really even my area. But just consider the fact that data centers notoriously consume a huge amount of energy, a huge amount of electricity. This is why Trump was rambling for most of his press conference. He was rambling on and on and on about drilling, drill, baby, drill, about coal, and he was even attacking windmills and all sorts of things, which is just too obviously quixotic to even mention. Okay, they use a massive amount of energy, these data centers. They use a massive amount of energy, a massive amount of electricity. That's going to be American energy. That's going to be American electricity, powered either by natural gas, by oil, or by coal, or what have you. Apparently not by windmills. So let's just say that they open 10 data centers. The amount of energy that they will consume to run those data centers is going to be roughly equivalent to the total of U.S. natural gas exports. Imagine. This investment is only partially about the actual data centers themselves. This investment is about sapping America's energy resources. It's an investment into sabotaging America's newfound status as an energy exporter. And that's if they just open 10. If they just open 10 data centers, but they're putting in $20 billion investment in. For $20 billion, you could open hundreds of data centers or 10 data centers with the capacity of hundreds. Either way, that's $20 billion that can potentially significantly undermine America's energy self-sufficiency. And more importantly, for the Khalij, for the Gulf, undermine America's competitiveness in the international markets as an energy exporter. This is a very important issue for the UAE. It's a very important issue for the Gulf. Trump knows this, of course, because the A-National OCGFC knows this. Trump is very close to the Gulf states and always has been. I mean, you can almost say, and this is what I've been saying in the chat, Trump is a Khaliji president. I mean, he's so Khaliji that he wants to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America just so America can have a Khalij. What we're witnessing is the West turning on itself. The empire is cannibalizing its allies. They're cannibalizing their own environments now, and they're cannibalizing their own people just to stay alive. This isn't strength. This is desperation. This is a dying system that's clawing at anything to try to keep from falling. I'm talking about the neocons, not the A-National OCGFC. I'm talking about the nationalistic owners and controllers of capital. But the stronger and the richer faction of the OCGFC, the A-National OCGFC, whom your own system created, that faction of elites are not tied to your domestic prosperity. They're not tied to your domestic economy anymore. And they're not tied to any nation. They are a nation unto themselves, like I keep saying. And they actively want to see your system devour itself because they want to leave the rest of the world to them. They want America out of it. So what does that mean for us, for Muslims, and for the global South? Well, it means that we have to prepare. We have to be serious. We have to build. Because as the empire collapses, we have an opportunity to create something that we haven't seen in the world for hundreds of years. This isn't a call to resist. It's a call to lead, to show the world that there is a different way. There is a just way. There's a way that's rooted in harmony and cohesion and collective sovereignty. And I think that's what we're seeing develop. So let's not be distracted by the empire's desperate fantasies. We have to focus on the work ahead. We have to understand what's actually happening because there are tremendous risks. I mean, BRICS is working with the A-National OCGFC, and that's perilous in and of itself. They are predatory. They're just the same as neocons in terms of being predators. They want to worm their way into dominance in the global South. So we have to negotiate that relationship very carefully. This is going to require cool heads, calm calculation, patience, and long-term planning. So you have to try to not get caught up in the flash bombs that they drop sporadically, Western politicians. You need to pay close attention to what's actually going on. Because yes, we are in a negotiation, all of us, literally all of us. We're all in a negotiation with power, continuously, constantly, nonstop. You and I are constantly defining the terms of our relationship with power. We are constantly letting them know what they can and cannot get away with. We're letting them know what we require from them. We're letting them know continuously what we will and will not accept. So we really can't afford to let them distract us. The West is turning on itself. So we have to ensure that we are ready to rise.
Welcome back. Shahid Bolson is warning white American, that not only white American, but entire Western world, that messing with the black people, messing with the black Americans, messing with the black nations is the worst thing that any of you would ever encounter themselves in. And I feel like yeah, it's true, because messing with the black Americans is the worst thing that anybody would wish to bump into. Why? Because black Americans will endure these all things until they are at the wall. They can't take shit anymore. No, they can't. They have to face you physically. Sometimes we don't face you with our own hands, with our own energy. We sit back and we watch God punish you. So, God of black is punishing black people, white people. God of the black people is punishing white Americans, because these people have endured Like you can't count what they have endured: molestation, being ignored, being stepped on, being denied almost everything. You can't live in some neighborhood. You can't live in some, like, how do you see us? Do you still see us as monkeys after all we have been inventing in America to make America great, beautiful, attractive, and everything? The entire world, the culture, the fashion, the music, like everything we have been doing is for the entire America. So God has seen these things, and God ain't taking these things this way anymore. So God had decided to take part in everything. Let me tell you how God is intervening in the black people's life. Let me begin by your own presidents, your own best leader, your own president, DJT. Trump has been used as a vessel to punish white Americans. Believe me or not, like it or not. Another thing, white people are turning on each other, are turning on Trump. You see, white people are turning on MAGA. That's God's wrath trying to divide you. You become enemies, because you have been dividing black people for the past many years. You have been wanting them to be enemies. You preach evil to them, to hate themselves, to hate each other, so that you can have a pure way through them. Now, God is making white Americans to divide with MAGA voters, at least for them to be enemies. Another thing, America has been having conflict between the other countries, Canada, Venezuela, Iran. God is using Trump as a vessel to punish you, so as you can be enemies with your neighbors. Mind you, black people, they were never engaged in this war with the Venezuela, with the Canada, with Iran. So God is removing black people from this old issue to leave you fight your own demons, fight yourself, fight your own family, fight your own people. So because God has seen these things, you start the war and then you leave it for the black American to fight, finish it. You start calling them out to come and fight, help me fight with this wars, because God has seen this, and God has like, okay, no, this time I'm not going to open the minds of black Americans. I'm going to close the ears, and I'm going to open the eyes to watch more and absorb knowledge, absorb everything from the punishment, from the calamities, from the conflict, or everything. Black people won't take part. Black people won't engage in anything. They will sit back, they'll shut their doors, and they will be watching you on the TV, just as you always do, watching them on the TV fighting, protesting, and doing everything. History will always repeat itself. That's why people are forgetting the history. Why people are forgetting history? They tend to forget history so as they can repeat history. I think you have heard enough from Bolson. I don't want to add my things on it. It's enough for today. Peace be with you, and I love you. I'm out.